to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, Yurii Korotun, grew up in Klavdievo near Kyiv in Ukraine, where he started skating. After working in film production for a few years, Yurii left Ukraine with his girlfriend early February 2022, right before the war started. Since then, he has relocated to Hanover, Germany, and for the last 6 months, aside from skating for his own pleasure, he's been dedicating a lot of time and energy to providing skateboarding lessons to children, including young Ukrainian refugees, at the Gleis D Skatehalle. He recently traveled to Berlin to premiere a mini documentary about his work. So here's my conversation with Yurii. I hope you'll enjoy it.
The rapture never ends.
Well, yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me. I think you went for a skate session this morning, or did the clips you just shared on Instagram, were they from yesterday maybe, or?
It was from yesterday because I'm like in the pretty like a schedule that I'm doing and skating all of the days right now mostly. And yesterday we got a classes and also we got a ZDF. For the ZDF report for the German television, we got a challenge and shooting with like interviewing me and explaining of the situation because our activities here in Hanover, they have a timing, and we started like a half year ago and doing like since then, since 1st April, super hard and like all the time work with kids. I have like a Telegram group where I have 45 kids and they all receive their own skateboards through like some other people which were helping us. They meet like a treasure crew in the Gleis D and stuff,
Yeah.
So, and I'm all the time like in the Gleis D because it's so many things happening there, and I'm also like at work and communicate and put everything to my calendar, so it's like actually it's super scheduled, and I look when I can go for some trip, for example, when I exactly working with kids, when I have a little bit of the family time, because also now we're talking and I asked our kids because my partner, my future wife right now, she's on work.
Okay.
And I'm like with the kids right now in the moment. So maybe
okay.
in between our talk, they can come and ask something, but
Sure.
they can like watch some TV calmly. So it's good.
Perfect. I didn't realize you had kids. Okay.
No, I will explain you the situation. It's the kids of Angelina.
Okay.
Is my girlfriend and future wife.
Right.
I met her in Kyiv like last year, and it's actually also like changed my life a lot because it was in the moment before a war a little bit. I was working my like a last serious project in a huge production company in Ukraine. We were working all the time with all kind of foreigners from around the world for all companies like Apple, Mercedes, Samsung, and BMW, all other companies.
Okay.
And in that moment we like get in touch and got some time of traveling together in Europe. And for me it was like a first trip, like when I haven't been at home like 3 months, and it was like because of her, because I wanted to stay. I didn't knew that war will happen. It was like a before, but like something from the November from the last year already foreigners stopped to come to the companies for work. My friends for Snapchat, they said that they were receiving some like letters that they can possibly receive some evacuation for them and their parents, and it was like alarms were everywhere, and I was walking in the winter, seeing like empty streets, a little bit less cars, and I was ruling the logistic, and I all the time was looking on the streets, cars, and you all the time as a skater, you always focused on something on the streets, so it was exactly that thing. And for me it was like personal alarm when we were with my girlfriend going back with some Georgian nice food in the evening. and there were a lot of false bombing in that moment, and exactly from my house there were like a police bombers running away and saying like it seems like it was a false bombing, and it was like something close 11, snowy, cold, and I was like, okay, we have like super tiny skate park in Kyiv, 70 square meters. I have no job right now. I saved a little bit of money. My parents said like, go to travel and chill somewhere. I also personally feel it. Some of my friends feel the same vibe. Some of my friends just came to Ukraine in this moment. And I was like, I said to everybody who I know and who I love that I will go. And in this moment, I see it like this because I don't want to think about that. I want to go skate in Istanbul, and that's what I was doing, like eating healthy food all the time, rent a super cheap flat near the skate park, near the sea, because Istanbul is like a 2.5 cheaper than Kyiv. So it was like a pretty lovely, and I was skating, manage everything in my work, because I met Angelina, and my plan before the war was to make a lot of cool things in Kyiv, in Ukraine, which is about skateboarding, because we were working on that with my friends in the past, in the many different projects, doing some exhibitions, video premieres, some like a different stuff, just inviting the people, competition, being like a MC on the competition, and like organizing and making some skateboarding and filming it, doing like hustling it all the time, and in that moment, I also worked like in the production company,
right.
And I was in Istanbul, and I figured out that I can live in Berlin, where I wanted to live with Angelina in that moment,
okay.
And come back to Kyiv, do projects in Kyiv, create my own projects, and like do activities in that moment, and come back to Berlin. So it was so nice that I could like be between like two places and be more like international, because it was always my dream. I always like a dream to travel, and I opened for myself that in 2016, in 2016 for a Europe. Before I was like in Russia like 3 times, 4 times in Belarus. In Ukraine I also traveled mostly the whole Ukraine and visited mostly really all of the cities, and even been to some like a small and interesting cities which was only tied with some skate event there. Like for example, opening for kids the place where you need to make a demonstrational skating, and just like to show and come to reach out. And I was always in the competitional skating scene, and from like 2013, when I was even young, with the older guys, which were already built and good scene in that moment there, I was like taking the places from there, and starting from like 2013, receiving the first sponsors and working on this way on the skateboarding. And even when I worked in the production, my main thing was also the things about skateboarding, because from production I was receiving so many nice knowledges, and it's always was like a different projects, different people, like different locations, and these locations I was like making photos and then going to skate many of these places,
Yeah.
And there were like so many skaters who also worked in the production, because in Kyiv it's like pretty international, and I was in the past like filmed a lot. Actually, my brother, he is a DOP, and he get into this work also by his own completely. And like my father, he works with the light, so he is the guy which put the light on the position, and like my neighbor in our tiny private area, 7,000 people, like a town, my neighbor was like a person who was working in the production industry, so he was nice dude, and he got in touch my brother and my father, and I accidentally came to it like when I was 22. And actually it's also like changed my life a little bit in the good way, because of the environment, and because that I started to appreciate time like 1,000 times more.
And so what exactly were you doing in production? What was your like role?
Firstly, it was like a runner and like a chaperone, we call that, when you were like meeting the people, bringing the people from the place A to place B, solving some small tasks. All communication depends on the language. I speak like from now, I can speak a little bit 5 languages.
Really? Wow.
So I do speak English, Ukrainian,
German?
Spanish, German a little bit. Like with kids, I can communicate. Look, and Russian.
Okay.
I can speak like also perfectly, but with my own accent.
Yeah, for sure.
And my job was in that moment, it was the main job is communication, and that people and everybody is informed what is happening, and that everybody is safety, that everybody in the place, that everybody having everything, you know, in this moment. And also in the set, I was like hustling and buying some like Red Bulls, ice creams, and giving to all of these dudes, which was doing the serious job, because when you had this time, what should you do? Watch your phone? I don't know. It's not interesting. There is a process around you. And then I got to the position when I started to be a part of an organization of this project, and I started to be an assistant to producer. And that were like a lot, I think 8, 9 big projects for me in this position, which was super, super lovely. Like last one was Mercedes-Benz. Huge advertisement. It's like 9 minutes. It looks like a documentary a little bit, and it was filmed in this all abandoned places. Some like in the Kyiv Sea, in the some forests, in some like destroyed places, and it was like a 20 days of like a full job for me with meeting and bringing like more than 60 people. And I had like a 10 people which were meeting everybody, like a little bit less, like 6, and 20 drivers.
Wow.
And all of this like 6 and 20 drivers and 60 people was mostly ruled by me in the way of all of the documents, in the way of all of the logistics and all of the stuff. Sometimes we were checking each other, but was my main job, like where everybody is and where is the car. Here is the radio, here is the AirPods, here is your handy, your laptop standing. You make a timetable, you know, for somebody to be in time. Do not spend money and don't waste like time.
Okay. Yeah. So let's bring it back to the beginning.
Skateboarding.
I don't want to ask only about skateboarding, but yeah, I'd just be curious to have you tell me a bit about how you found skateboarding, how you started. So you're around 26, around there, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about when you started skating, and maybe tell me a bit about where you're from in Ukraine. I think you're from a city very close to Kyiv, right?
Yeah. It's the city which close to Kyiv, and also maybe if you were checking the news, you also heard it about the Bucha city.
Yes, of course.
And it's like 7 kilometers from the Bucha city, so it's like super close. And I started to skate. It was like different levels, because I have a photo when I'm standing on the old Soviet board, like a kashtan. It's like a Ukrainian Soviet boards, and I was standing in front of my father's working car. He was like bringing deputies also from the place to place, probably in that moment. And it was like so nice and black and white analog pictures from that time. So I was like 5-6 years old. But my brother, he got his skateboard when I was already like 11 or 12. And he didn't like it and use it a little bit, and it was a bit more for a freestyle, and there was space for a feet, to put your feet to make it roll somehow. Then can easily roll down and put to the prima, you know, so you can stand on it. So I just tried it a little bit, started to skate, because we got only asphalt, and it was some Kyiv guys was laughing from me, because I was all the time telling that I'm like from the place where I just had a piece of the asphalt and I was using that, and I was skating that, building that something, and then in the future on the competition there were jokes about this. And the thing is that we got in 2008 big competition in this super tiny village. It was also organized. Also, my older brother, he was a part of the youth organization, and they bring like many musician groups, many athletes of the big sports and stuff. And also they built a nice skate park there, and they made like a BMX event and skate event. And in that event, I came and I saw firstly time, like I was doing some like only a little bit, and I was only watching like skateboarding like from something like an MTV, and this was my main channel from that. So because sometimes we didn't get so easy to all of the technologies, to all of the comfort, and it always depend where you are and in what time it's happening, you know, because like 3 years ago, it was absolutely different life, high tech. Like that time, it was not the same level, and you were in the between both, you know, between both of these levels. And there were like a nice guy, MC, which were like a lot of talent and organizing everything. And he saw my skateboard and tell that if I will be in Kyiv, I should come and pick up his like a cream complete. He has some like a cream board, big wheels, and some Rukus trucks or something like that, you know. And for me, it was like the first like a skateboard, which is like a American or something like that, you know, which is worth, yeah, and which you can use already properly. And also in that event, I get in touch with some guys from Bucha. They are already was doing the tricks and stuff, and first time I saw like a guys doing like a nice ollie 50-50, 360 flip, kick flips, you know, backside flips and stuff, and I was like, wow, you can roll your skateboard like that, really? And I got so much energy in that moment, and my parents, they didn't allow me to go outside the town because it was sketchy, and now I understand why they were not allowing me many things in, in some moments in Ukraine. But my friends started to come to my city, Klavdievo, this small town, and learn me tricks. So it was funny. We were playing the game of skate, and they were like literally showing me like first in my life fake backspin when I see. And I was like, okay. And I first try did it, and I was, whoa. And then like next one, fake half cap, you know, because you were skating already like 2 years, and you love it like till the bones, you know, and you get in touch with somebody or something, and you just like want to continue do it and make it, you know. And so this is how I really started in this super tiny place. I was like a first actually skateboarder there, and then after that there were like a couple of friends, and there were like my best friend also in that time. He was like skating 10 years or something, but then he quit, and many people were like quitting all the time. So this is what the problem. You needed to
stick to it.
Always to push, sometimes alone, and just find the people on the spots, you know, because this is how it works.
And so how old were you when you started? You talked about 2008, but you started a little bit before that?
I think I started to push even like from age of the 6 years. I was pushing this Soviet skateboard. So it was fun for me when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
I started to skate probably when I was already like 12. So my experience like 14, probably this spring will be 15 years old, because it was 2008 spring, probably something like that, I think.
Okay. And so when did you start getting like hooked up by sponsors? So I saw that you have a few sponsors right now, and we can talk about that in a second, but tell me about maybe your first sponsors. Did you get sponsored by like a shop maybe in Kyiv, or?
It was very interesting actually, because I got a sponsored, and my first sponsor was a deck sponsor, and they wasn't from Kyiv. In that moment they were like a pretty nice, making the decks and a nice brand, and they were called like a mustache skateboards.
Okay.
And they were doing the funny boards with the faces, with the mustaches, you know.
Okay.
That was fun in that moment, and I was sponsored by them, and I was like on the floor receiving a 50% discount and buying pretty cheap these boards.
Okay.
And then in 2013 also I started to win some first competitions, going to Kyiv, reaching out to more other people, and in that moment I received my other sponsor from the Dnipro city.
Okay.
And those guys were more deeply into skateboarding, and like Andrew, the main guy who was ruling this brand, he was in the LA, and the Baker Boy distribution was official. He been like there in their skate park, shop, communicating. They were bringing this stuff. I was like in Baker and Desert in that moment, super much, because it was like that videos was absolutely different realities between, to compare it like right now, you know.
Yeah. So you told me a little bit about working in film production right before you left Ukraine. How are you sharing your time and your effort between skating and the film production job? Like how much time did you spend doing each thing?
Actually, I found in the production in that moment even some better balance than with some other jobs, because I got from the like a tiny place to the Kyiv, and I rent my first flat when I've been to university, and it was like 7 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And in that moment, I was going to the different type of works, because in Kyiv, if you want to live and you rent an apartment, you need to have money, you need to work in this moment, and you studying in the same time, and you want to skate in the same time.
Yeah.
So there were like all the time in the Kyiv, you needed to be like one person which doing like things of 7 persons.
Yeah.
If you are like a really like individual which wants to do something, you know, because like in many positions like government and some social things like didn't work out well, so you needed to really be hard on that. And I was just like working and skating, and sometimes my schedules was in some bars, in the I was working in the bar, in the shopping mall, in the making a coffee in the super nice places, in the restaurants, in the hairdressing. I was working in the some fancy bar in the hairdressing.
Okay.
Then after that, I was like sitting in their hairdressing bar and thinking that I'm like earning something like 15 euros right now for my like 6 hours, and what the fuck I'm doing. So I started to like to think a lot, because I was skating, but my job wasn't any interesting. Because of skateboarding, you couldn't make so many and reach to so many things, because you was a little bit closed. You got only like 90 days of traveling. It was like always like something, you know, like more complicated and scheduled, that you really needed to hustle a little bit more in this way and combine some work, some freelance work, and like skateboarding.
Yeah.
And the step to the production was a good step, because I found there good people, super lovely people, which were tied with skateboarding community as well. Like executive producer is also know all skateboarders of Kyiv, you know. And she is like 45 years old, and she was inviting probably many of people to some shootings in the future or something like that. And because of some these activities, because of this touch and stylish people inside, you know, and people was the main thing which were motivating me, you know. And I was like I'm very glad that in my way I was meeting many good people, and I'm very grateful for that it's happened somehow, and I don't want it, don't plan it, and it's just happened, you know. And this is how it is, and this is, I think, how it should be when you just like trying to go some your way.
Yeah,
that's it.
Hustling, yeah. So tell me about moving from Ukraine to Germany. So you told me earlier that you left a little bit before the war, and you talked about going to Turkey, right, to Istanbul?
Yeah.
And so tell me about deciding to leave Ukraine, and when you went to Turkey, did you think that you were gonna go back to Kyiv, or did you decide to go to Germany? Like, tell me about this departure, basically.
I actually went there with my backpack and my skateboard, you know. And in Kyiv, I had a lovely flat where I was living like the last 6 years, completely with a lot of the plants and stuff, trophies, winning things, caps, like many of things. And in that moment, like, it was pretty hard. And when exactly war happened, I was like, we were in Antalya in that moment, and it was like a morning. And I like ran away to the mountains and started to scream and cry in that moment when it happened. You know, I was so far, and I didn't know what can I do right now from this moment. I felt about that something can happen, but like now it's happening, and your action, like, you know, and you're like, And then I was working actually as well in that moment a lot, and started to use the media, started to help people with the logistic, because many problems with the internet and stuff in that moment. So there were like from the first beginning a lot of some social, psychological work, just like sometimes it's just even that work which you just need to do and don't ask no one about anything, you know what I mean? And my plan was actually not to leave completely Ukraine with everything, and I didn't plan it, and it was like a vacation. When it happened, like we've been in Italia, 25th of February, we've been in Hanover, in airport. In Hanover, my girlfriend, she lives here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In Hanover, like a border officer asked me, what should we do? It seems like you will stay, because I already spent all of my days in Europe, my previous trip. And he said like, okay, you can come. And I came, and like I was working with people, talking, helping, making some logistic, reposting some information and doing many things in that moment. And like after like I think on the third or fourth day, I already started to step on the board. And when I went to skating, in that moment it was like super crazy for me, and the focus was like unimaginable on this action. And the way how you come to the question of the fear or something is already not exist, I think, anymore.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that you were thinking of going to Berlin. What made you decide to stay in Hanover instead of going to Berlin?
War. It's like, imagine then in Europe there are already like 6 million of Ukrainians in the whole Europe.
Yeah.
And in the Berlin there are 200,000 of people. My friends now, they are already half year, or not half, like 4 months living in the Berlin, and they are hustling from the flat to flat. And in the Berlin it's can be sketchy, and I see like some like other things which are not happening here, you know, because there I also see importance to help, you know, and to be there in activity, to organize their people, to do some classes there for kids, for adults, because I see my dudes just like getting lost, and some of them like doing super good, and some of them just like cannot do anything. And it's not depends, are they in Ukraine or are they in the Europe, you know? So it's just like interesting how some people can act in this moment, and you not always agree with everybody in your community, and not always like completely support it. Only like kids understand it, and only those who was always pushing something, doing, working for skateboarding, those like knows that it's like a difficult situation and important work which should also be done, you know.
Yeah.
And otherwise these kids just will be spread in their own societies, and they won't be in touch with the other cultures and these things. And I just want to make it that we all from the one place, because this is how I feel. Like I don't feel that I'm like only Ukrainian. I'm like from the earth, you know, and this is the thing. We need to take care more in this level. And in Ukraine, because of the education, many of these questions which I tell you and you understand completely, parents of the kids and kids don't get at all, you know. So you need to work with the boss and work with the people to get in touch and to explain some important information, because so many things was so digital and so like this 21st century and stuff, but some other things in some education or some other things because of some infrastructure in the small towns, or because of the Soviet Union, people was a little bit broken, and you felt that your parents was a little bit broken, some other parents was a little bit broken, and everybody was a little bit broken because of that disaster.
So tell me about arriving in Hanover, and I want to ask you about like the skate lessons that you're doing at Gleis D and everything, but tell me about the first few months in Germany and settling in Hanover. How was this transition? I'm sure you were very concerned with the war and maybe texting or calling your friends and your family in Ukraine, and tell me about those first few months.
Still do it. Still, like this communication is so huge, and I subscribed like 1,500 people, and I always was like into people, and people was always my main motivation, you know. And just like I feel bad when I don't ask somebody like a question when I see his story or something, because now I see that this story can be important, not like in the past, you know. And my feeling was, and how I get in touch with like some work, I started to skate, and it's fire, I think, in the skate park in Hanover. I met Dan, It's like a legendary skater from Hanover, very nice dude, 40 years old, and he was like my super big motivation in that moment, because he was example of the super nice family guy, and which in 40 years old skating so good with the transitional skating and the hard technical tricks and stuff. And he also had some like networks, and we were talking. He felt my problem. We talked with him a lot in that moment, and he actually even after that was hosting a kid and taking care of the kid for a whole half of the year because of this network and the communication. And that was like a help from person to also bring from the Kyiv and come to Hanover, and to live here a little bit, And he also like get me in touch with like a Gleis D community, and with the older guy from the Gleis D community, Heiko, with whom we built this whole process. And I said that what I can do, what I was doing in my jobs, because I already in the past I had a concept of the skate school, but I didn't make it because I knew that I didn't want it to like learn money, but I wanted to live, and I just know when something is not enough. It was so often when something is not enough, and I don't want to have this feeling that something is not enough in this moment. So I got a concept of the skate school in the COVID time, in the COVID moment. And I was like, I planned it. Tomorrow morning I am posting the skate school, and tomorrow morning I wake it up and the producer invites me for some NBA project. And I was like, okay. It happened in that moment.
So tell me about the skate lessons that you do over there. So I checked out your Instagram, of course. You seem to be giving like classes to young kids, and I understand a lot of these kids, or maybe all of them, I'm not too sure, are young refugee kids from Ukraine. And so tell me about how skateboarding is helping them, and how does a class usually take place? Do you talk with them at all about the war, about what's going on, or do you just focus on the skating and try to, have them not think about the war for once and just kind of focus on skating and enjoying themselves?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
I will try to structure that. All of this year, what we are doing, they so like happy to come and to visit the classes. And we started actually this school not with skateboarders at all. It was like a kids from the expo, from the Messe Gelände here in Hanover. It's a point where like people come to the camp area where they have this environment to stay for some moment. Okay. And I already experienced that there were a lot of kids. I already spoke to Dan, to Heiko, and we got in touch with other like social workers. And I made something like a poster with like a Ukrainian flag when I'm sitting my picture in the Mexico on the workshop with the kids, which been in that time, and the QR code where I'm in Ukrainian explaining the information for the kids that we can do the classes, Gleis D, about the situation, how it happened a little bit, and so on. Mm-hmm. And this is how it happened. We also make a post in the expo. And next days we got like 25 kids, and it only was like a kids from the expo, and they never skated, and they were like absolutely different cities, different mentalities, because sometimes language a little bit changed from city to city, sometimes even mentality changed hard way from city to city.
Right, yeah.
And this is how we started, and in the way there were like so many skaters which are spread in Europe, coming directly to Hanover to reach out to us, like Ukrainian skateboarders, Ukrainian kids, those who are in Germany, there were like all the time. It's like a skaters, like a circle. They come in, planning to come. We write in chat, and that somebody will come after he will finish in something where he needs some advice, mm-hmm. and something like that. And the thing is that Ukrainian like skateboarding is younger than like European, is younger than American. And have you seen actually the Revolution on the Concrete?
Yes, the documentary about the what is it called? The
Maidan, Independence Square.
Right. I saw it a few months ago.
Yeah, it was like about skateboarding and revolution. It's also like damaged us a lot in that time because, you know, I was going to that revolution, bringing the warm clothes to the people because we all were about the West and they wanted to put us to the East, you know, and we didn't want that. We wanted tolerant life to everybody, to all of the type of the societies. And that film and that movie shows like some of the examples how it's really happened with Ukrainian skateboarders, that somebody can become just an alcoholic and somebody can become just a worker or like absolutely quit skateboarding for all his life. But many people who are doing the interesting things, you know, for me personally, they always like skateboarders, because even when they were like hustling to 300 days a year working and skating like 10 times, and when they were skating they were like with gang like they used to be and skating good, you know. So that vibe, that good vibe and connection felt anyway in that moment. And it's for kids, you know, kids started to improve themselves and they became skaters with the time. And I see already like some of them are like going even too hard into already skate brands and all of the trends, you know, and they already have their own communication and things, skating together in some other skate parks, which I also was trying to build, not only hold them in the Gleis D and bring them from the place to place, because like Hanover is not super huge city. Like Kyiv is actually big capital with many things, and like I see it like here there are so many cool kids which need the help, and I'm lovely want to continue do it while the war is finishing, you know, and then like we will easily can do something in Ukraine, do some project there and create, and so many people can come back in that moment. So it's needed, like I think everywhere. In the Stuttgart I saw the young community, like 20 kids. In Berlin, like I think if I will go to other German cities, I also reach out there to them, because you know sometimes Ukrainians also, because of this way probably of knowing about geography and history and other things, they can think probably Germany. Yeah, Germany is the main country where we need to come, you know, when they making the decision where to go. And so many people just don't knowing completely where they're going and facing the things what they don't used to face, you know. And I already like experienced this bureaucracy system, people, environment, infrastructure and other things, and I just like see how I can be useful, so I trying to do that also in the way of the talk with them, you know. When you just like a discussion some important things, when you discussion how you literally need to act to the woman, because many of people don't know that and can be rude, exactly like a 14, 16 years old guys, you know, and you just like need to explain them by good examples and by some things like that, all of these kind of processes. Also like that you cannot leave the trash and things, you know, and like many things, because I feel this responsibility, I don't know why, on my shoulders, you know. But because maybe their parents missing sometimes some of these things. But like my grandmother, she is the hero of the work. In the mathematics, she was like teaching kids, and she take care of whole my education when I was child, because my parents were busy, they were working, and we were going to the museum. She was telling me about the school, about the kids, you know. Then I get to university and I wanted to travel and skate, and I just choose the languages, and I got an interest. I don't only want to travel and skate, I got some interests, but I didn't know what profession I want to have. I got into the knowledges, learned pedagogy, psychology, history, literature, such a beautiful projects, and was so lucky that in my university was no corruption, because in other they exist and people was paying for their marks, and from my university people was thrown away who was paying money for studying, you know. They were thrown away when they were not coming to the university. And this was also was a nice thing. Then I learned all of this, and I was already a little bit like kind of prepared for some activities with that, for the communication, like through the university system, through so many discussions, some like writing all of these diploma works and like so many of works which was about the languages, and sometimes we could tie it with the skateboarding and with your activities, it was open.
So to bring it back to the classes, so it's at a skate park called Gleis D, right?
Yeah, Gleis D.
So how many sessions per week do you organize, and how many kids do you get to teach? And yeah, as I said, and you just talked about it, so there are kids from all over, not just from Ukraine.
Yeah. First 2 months, it was like 2 times a week.
Okay.
For like at least 6 hours, and mostly all of my focus to the kids, to the filming, to the instruction, everybody, in this moment, then like another person, then giving some order with the trick and going to the other person. So it's always like in this moment. Then it got to the system that it was like 4 days a week.
Okay.
So it was like a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Friday, and one of the weekends. And usually I just tell kind of my calendar when I can do all of these activities to make them happen. So, and in the way of the kids, in our group there are like 40 people. Sometimes randomly can come, only skateboarders to our classes can come 25 kids. And I see like other 10 kids scooters, 10 kids BMXers, Ukrainians, some other people like German people, all other people. Sometimes also we invite them and they come and reach out, those who want to make some yoga, stretching, or eat and share the food, for example, because we also do that right now. And this is that activities which we have, but from the early beginning I got in my head all of the ideas which would be so lovely to create with working in the way, not only learning, cooking and doing these activities that you can organize kids like in the school, I was having the practice of teaching the English from the 5th grade till the 11th grade, when you are writing what next 45 minutes, what kind of lessons will be right now and what kind of topic you're gonna discuss, and step by step go and do some activities like that, because I already, in my head many times I got a question, so that so many things needed to be told and the information should be given, because it's very important, and I don't know, I see it like this. And for example, yesterday we got a shooting with the TV, and yesterday was 10 kids. Also kids having their own schedule. Ukrainian kids always helping parents, and they more adult from the teen age and already having the schedule, sometimes, or not having the schedule but not super organized, but having a lot of things to do, and they learning organization. So it's like a unstoppable work in the way of the people. And also, I'm not only concentrated on the skateboarders, and I also do a lot of the work and giving the scooters to the German kids, talking with them in the German, giving the mixes to the other people, and the helmets and stuff when it's needed, because there are so many kids. Sometimes I want to see more skateboarding there, and I feel like we create skateboarding there completely, because mostly there are so many MTB, BMX riders, scoot riders. Sometimes it's complicated to skate because I know how it can be. And that's why I like to do also classes in the different skate parks to manage that. So
I just wanted to ask you also, I think you mentioned yoga at some point not too long ago. So how much do you teach them about, not necessarily yoga, but how do you say, flexibility, or stretching and taking care of themselves or stuff like that?
Stretching, some exercises from yoga, because I do it by my own and do a lot, and already I think 4 years I do yoga movements, and with them we started from the early beginning, and it was a lesson from the university where students were doing the exercise which a coach was telling, and it was already not a school, something more interesting for more flexibility and for more stuff. So we're doing 15-20 minutes, and I literally amazed of many of them, you know, how they like quickly get in touch with things, and I see how it really works, and like it's so lovely that they are doing that. Some of the older guys, they like to talk in this moment, or can be like, you know, showing off a little bit, like not doing too completely. I'm organize them in this moment, and they like trying to make it better, but it works with them. I tell them all the time information why it's needed. Sometimes I tell them story about, for example, I just been in the Berlin trip. And we got a lovely premiere then, but actually I was so focused on the filming from the morning till the evening, till the end when we left. So, and I like literally slammed so many times. And yesterday I was telling like, guys, we need to make a very good one, because I feel it like I'm super needed right now, and I skated so much. So when I just like explained them some situation when it's really needed, when you can fall down, for example, but don't hit you up because you prepared, your body prepared, you know how to fall, you know how to like mathematically think about all of these things.
Yeah, you just talked about Berlin. Tell me about that trip. So you went there to premiere. You went there to skate and to film, as you said. But you...
No. The main destination was actually the video premiere.
Okay.
Because for me, it's like a premiere together with the Adidas and the Solo magazine, with all of these projects which we did with Torsten. It was like a super lovely, beautiful people. Nice, like a... So nice video. I very till the end loved how the edit looks, you know.
When is it coming out? Do you know when it will be online? I look forward to seeing that.
I think it's gonna be super soon.
Okay.
And also I went to Berlin with my friend from Hanover, with whom with Torsten we filmed already 5 minutes like a project, like a documentary, you know. So there is a skateboarding and what is more about skateboarding. And now I also have already from 4 to 5 minutes, which I already prepared and was preparing since my first days here, you know, because I was always into some missions when I got this time. And I'm also, my friend got a possibility to come to the Berlin, and he has a car and he has a lot of like lenses and all of the equipment which needed few cameras. And we were like filming so productively, so good. And actually I'm very, very, very excited and happy because of this trip. You know, I came, I saw the video, I spent maybe like an hour and 30 minutes in premiere, drink a tea, thanks to everybody, and just like I left and thought, okay, it's so nice party, so nice people, but I feel like my muscles, my back, my sword muscles, they need a chill right now, and the horizontal position which needed to be taken.
You needed to lie down, And so are you working on like a only skate part, or are you working on maybe a part for Adidas or for your other sponsors, or?
Actually, I can explain my situation about the sponsors actually, because I have a board sponsor from Ukraine, which ruled my friend, and we in the like a good communication, and actually he's also ruling the Skate Ukraine community in Ukraine. You know, he is a nice guy, and I always trying to also help him with some vision, with some things, and it's like just like a relations where you don't spend so much boards in this moment, and it's not easy to deliver, and boards soon be gone in the way of the production, so we need to take care about some new delivery probably, or something like that. But it's like in this way I see it sometimes super complicated, you know, because so many work done on the humanitarian side, you know, with the bringing and spreading the things for free in this moment. So I was like I don't know.
What's the board sponsor? Is it First Skateboard? Is that the name of your board sponsor?
Yeah.
So they're still in business? Are they still able to like function?
They mostly support everybody on the competition. So it's just like, I don't know, it's a donational brand which more like now just gives everything or like sell everything so cheap, you know, and it's many with many brands it happened. And in the past they got a nice like a skate shop which was supporting me in Kyiv, but I even, I was thinking that it will be better than they will support somebody else than me sending through some logistic problems some stuff for me in this moment,
Okay.
So they could use some young skaters which like more needed this, and I didn't think about in the sponsor way that much because I also was working and could buy myself some things, and I was supported by Central Mall in Kyiv, pretty fancy place, and 2 years I was like receiving a lot of the clothes, like a Carhartt, Stussy, some like a British nice and underground and fancy brands, and like fashion is also something nice and something which I also like to see, and style, how people can be different at all.
Yeah.
And in that time I was like receiving many things and kind of collecting them and working,
Okay.
Yeah, and all of these things were like in this time already during the war sent and given for free for people, and I literally give so many of these Carhartt, Stussy, and many skate brands things to get people feel warmer, better, and just like making this circulation in the air. So I'm very thankful that it was happening. And to answer the question that you said, like, is it a part for the Adidas? I would love that it could be a part for the Adidas, and I would love to make it so good that it can be something like this. So I just will keep it working, and to reach out for the Adidas and Torsten Frank for all of the work which they did, and all of the support with shoes, with expenses for travel and for everything. So it's something what I very appreciate and feel very real and feel and very care about. So I will just continue work on it.
And so what are your next projects? What are you going to work on in the next few months? So I guess you're going to continue doing the skate lessons and skate for yourself, of course. But what do you have planned for the near future?
Yeah, I would love to make kind of school which will be not only about Hanover and will be about whole Germany more. And in the future, I would like to make it in even like a kind of skate camp way, that it can be a few instructors, a lot of activities, so there can be some support for these activities, and the kids can have like a best time somewhere else, because I also experienced like a skate camps in my life, and I know how cool they can be, because in Ukraine the guys was doing a very nice events was always good. So I want to continue completely working on with the skateboarding and in the way with the kids as well, and it's even not depends where I am stay, because I want to also, I'm working on the website and on some like a complete vision of all of this project and how I see it, that I can easily represent it and show all of the goals and activities which were done, and all of the something concretic, something which has a
tangible.
Something like when you read and see, you understand how you can get in touch with that, or how you can be help, or how you can come inside this community for studying and things, and also I want to spread some ideas through that. I always, when I was in Ukraine, I didn't like when people acted not super nice, and I always was telling to people who are not acting nice that they are not acting nice, and I wanted to spread some ideas through this project. Will be about completely skateboarding and school activities and different things, but I also want to spread ideas about the tolerance, about some important things, maybe to do some social skate, humoristic, small movies, where you can, show me, for example, that I'm like a last bastard in the world throwing away trash and being bad, to show this example that it's so not good, and to show the dirty things in the skate park or something like that. Because I always I wanted to use all of these things to just try to be a little bit of useful, at least that audience which I have, because with the time I see that many people really appreciate that and many people really need that. And when this is happening, then you need to continue do what you're doing, because I see importance in this, all of the activities and movements, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not only about like tricks. It's not about tricks.
Of course.
Skateboarding is like a filming, like a design, like a building, and to do all of these activities and involve somebody more than only me, that it can be done. It's like so lovely, and kids will be happy to do that in the whole Europe,
So you're gonna stay in Germany then? You're not planning on going to another country, or?
I can change the place of living in the way of the country, and I think it can be Lisbon.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because of the many reasons, and financial situations also matter. Situational with rent. 9 months we were searching for the flat in the Berlin all the time. We were being in Hanover. For times we were going especially in car just to see the apartments, check them out, and then they were like cancelled in the way, So it just was impossible to rent a flat even when you have a budget for that, and the budget is okay.
Yeah.
Even in these moments it's so complicated. In Hanover, it's like difficult also to find a nice place, and if you find a place where you want to stay, it's the same price than in Berlin, for example. And the thing is that then you cannot figure it out completely being in Hanover, because the Hanover is a tiny city, and it reminds me like a town village vibe where you see horses sometimes and some farms and things, and it's like lovely area and calm area, and that's why I came here in the beginning, and that my girlfriend from here, and when I traveled last year in November, I fall in love with Hanover, in the first time, because it reminded me about my area, but through other perspective, of all of the infrastructure around, and but the same forest, the same nature, and and kinder people in some ways, and more like closer to each other.
Yeah, but Lisbon should be pretty cool as well. Yeah, it's
But I want to make it like that I can come to Berlin, to Hanover, to Stuttgart, maybe to the more and more German cities, because I lived in Germany. I felt connection with Germany. Our kids, they speak German. I will learn German language because I want to learn German language, And Portugal right now, it will be like another step.
Yeah.
It will be like a sunny place, and I never been to, for example, Spain or Lisbon and skating the whole winter, summer, because we were skating -20 in the underground sometimes, in the gloves, underwear, and like many clothes.
Yeah.
And sometimes there were no skate parks, and we will go to the street and we will skate -7 from the stairs, when it's snow somewhere lane, but not everywhere.
Yeah.
And you just wanted to make it. So I think it will be from this perspective nice, but I will prepare until my move into the Lisbon. I will prepare and make my project to be more working, and I'm making through the bureaucracy system that I can be as a freelancer, then I don't have a kind of contract, because it's also in the way of the law and the bureaucracy and how everything is worked. Sometimes it's not that how I used to see and how I used to work, and you need to get in touch, and sometimes it's needed more time, and sometimes over communication is needed, and it's good that it exists, that there is a people which can get in touch with you and a little bit explain to you a new world and new things, and some things like that,
Yeah.
Because it's not something new world or things, but bureaucracy, it's in the law, it's the moment which every citizen should experience on his own being in his country, and learning that with the time. And this is also what we are doing. So I want to make it like that I can be productive and travel around Germany, and then we'll see maybe around Europe and do something super lovely and interesting over there. So I would like to see it like that, and for the future, for example, I have some connections and people which would like to go to the Kyiv, or which would like to go to the Western Ukraine, and do some activities there, for example, build some concrete skate parks and ramp. There is a very nice community from Hanover which could potentially make it and have all cars and things to do that, and there are so many good things which you could do in the future. So I just want to focus on the work and make it priorities, and try to all the time just keep working and keep doing this. Sometimes I don't know, maybe having really vacation because I'm not living super chilly. I'm always in the rush, and when I'm skating, I'm pushing quick. I don't know why.
Yeah, but I saw that. Yeah,
It's Kyiv. Kyiv made me like this. I'm from the private house, from the lovely garden with the small, tiny, a small lake, dogs, and this area surrounded by forests and stuff. And Kyiv, the city of the concrete, metal, also parks, also cars, and dogs. There are a lot pets lovers. But the thing is that it's such a different levels, and Ukraine, when you go from the one place to other place, it's changed so completely. So it's I don't know, I love skateboarding, I love Ukraine, I love Kyiv because of this different diversity, and the world is the same, how you cannot like it.
Yeah, actually, that's something I wanted to ask you is, so most people who listen to this podcast are from North America, from Europe, and how would you say that we can help Ukraine, or at least we can help maybe you with your skate lessons, and how can we help in a more general way? What would you say is a good way to support either Ukraine in general or the skateboarding community or...
Yeah, I think it depends on the person, and it depends how they can support. Some people can support with the only information or only a good a word, and sometimes it's also needed for people. Some people can support some organization with because there are so many volunteer organizations. I have so many friends doing so different things by helping people or teaching people to fight in this moment. And this is the thing that if people have, for example, money and they want exactly to support Ukrainian side, it's so easy. If there is somebody who will listen this, you can ask me. I can send the good links and the real links for Ukrainian organizations, for example, which not about skateboarding, about caring about kids, about repairing the houses which was built. Because, for example, my friends from Chernihiv, they was going there and building houses for people because of the Russians which was destroying there on the way, and taking the stuff from it. Yeah, so I see something like this,
Okay.
Yeah, also I'm working on that I can do something also that I can be as an organization and decide and help and be useful in this area, because many things in the budget way even don't ruled by me in this at all, so I just do a lot of things around, but the law, bureaucracy, bugaltery going somewhere else. But for example, in the production, all bugaltery sometimes was on me. Also a rule with the bills, with the receipts, I put it to the list, clay them, and in the laptops, So there is a difficulties, and if somebody wants support a skate project or wants support, I don't know, personally, our school or me, they also can write and tell it. Or if there is somebody who wants to support Ukraine, or even I know the skaters which are in the front line, and it's possible to send something for them, for example. And so this is, I think, would be nice.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. I just have one last question, and then I have some friends questions for you that I'll have you listen to. The last question that I usually finish with is what would you say is the most valuable lesson that you feel that you've learned through skateboarding?
Don't drink and skate.
Okay. Do you have a bad experience from...
I saw people having bad injuries because of that, super bad, and not skating years.
From drinking too much?
From drinking too much. Not drinking too much, just drinking during that. I don't know. I just don't drink during skateboarding. Water, juice, tea.
Yeah, drink after the session. Yeah.
Yeah, and after the session, it's also like, I don't know, I don't drink in right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, I do not go to the alcohol so much, and I don't just like it. I think it's a drug.
It is a drug,
like
for
a
sure.
nicotine, like a nicotine.
Yeah. I've actually been sober myself for nearly 3 years now.
Oh, nice. I haven't drink alcohol like I remember the Hanover is like 7 months in the way before the war, and when war happened, I could drink like a couple times, sometimes one small craft beer or something like that. But it was already like, I wasn't drinking, and I started to eat a little bit of sugar and some like a cinnamons, breads or something like that. But I also was no eating sugar before like a half of year,
Okay.
when I was in Istanbul. So it's like a change for a while. Then I quit completely alcohol and was drinking like a water, tea, vitamins, some different stuff, massage guns, ice on my body. All evenings I put ice on myself because otherwise it hurts.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. All right, let's finish with the friends' questions.
Friends questions.
Yes.
Yeah, it's excited. I'm excited to hear them.
So the first one is from, I'm probably not going to say his name correctly, I'm very sorry. I think it's Volshaha Ilya.
Yeah. I understood. I understood who it is.
Okay.
It's a guy from the Dnipro. It's a skateboarder from the Dnipro.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So he said, so Yurii, I noticed that in different periods of your life, you had different images. I remember your profiles with rock music, then a transfer to baggy fits and hip hop, and now you have dyed hair and hippie guy style. So it's interesting to which culture you are more related to, hippie, punk, rap, or maybe now your style is made of all your previous styles, basically.
I never had only one music genre which I listen, or like one way of the clothes which I like, or something like that. I remember I had a problems in the school because it was also not like it was already not Soviet, but my classmate was telling me that I need to go home because I was dressed too bright and how I wanted to be,
Yeah.
And I was like just hassling with what I had in my parents, my older brother, and all of the clothes, and just like, I don't know, because also I'm from the small place, I saw so many movies, and I experienced like cinema deeply, and history movies, and like books, and some different things, and always cultures, always clothing was super interesting for me. Now I like many types of music, but I also like some ethno music, and I listen it a lot, like ethno music. Sometimes it's Arab music, sometimes it's some Indian motif music, sometimes some Japanese music, sometimes around the whole world, like French, Italian, Spanish, Latin American music. I just like love music, and I was writing the lyrics because I played the guitar. When I was a child, I was going to a little bit of school and having solfeggio and stuff. And with the time, I prepared a small album with the lyrics and the melodies, which should be in the future sometimes recorded nicely with all of the things which needed there. And sometimes I have some inspiration and I can make some action of the art.
Okay.
Before I left my apartment, it was like I draw the small painting on the silver and just black written, change the game. And this is what I wrote, and in that moment left to the airport, and all of this like I experienced after, and I remembering this and thinking like, wow, sometimes.
All right, let's do the next one. So this one is from Maxim Bulka.
Yeah, it's super nice skateboarder. He organized so many lovely events and skate camps, and he is the guy who made like skateboarding atmosphere in all of the events which been done.
Yeah.
And the last one was so huge one, double, triple, 3,000 square meters in the main like a street spot with the huge arch and the view on the whole Kyiv and on the Dnipro.
Nice.
And like 200 riders from around the world. So yeah, the question.
So he said, some time ago, you decided to develop yourself as a pro skater and maybe an artist outside of Ukraine, and left the country before the Russian invasion on February 24th. How do you think your life and career will be connected with your motherland in the future after Ukraine's victory in this war?
I think that it will be tied so much because my plan was not escape from Ukraine. My plan was use this world to like do something where I want to do something, you know. And it doesn't matter where I am. I think in this way, when war will happen, my main desire is to come and to firstly hug my parents, my grandmother, and my brother, and everybody in my family, my friends, and then like to do all of these like projects which in my head, and I think I just need to already start preparing them and thinking what definitely can happen in that moment. So I think we just like need to think about like a short perspective, but also about a little bit longer and build some plans for that, because I definitely want to see skateboarding in Ukraine, and I definitely will to try to make something that it can happen in, you know, because in 2014, me and my friend Sergey, we and two of our other friends, we started some fusion project, and we filmed like video for 42 minutes with the travel into Athens to Croatia, around Ukraine and stuff. And in that moment, we also was ordering the boards and other things and selling them cheaper because the shops was selling them so expensive because there were no anybody who skateboarder. And sometimes in Ukraine, you need to hustle with no skateboarders in the industries all the time. And in the future, through production, you could understand how it works. But before, as a skater, it's difficult because it's just other level of the communication. And I definitely want to build a skate shop in Ukraine. I want to see a good skate park, indoor skate park, because last 6 years I was skating 70 square meters, and and I want to see there something bigger. I want to see there like a space where you can show like a nice movies, and like an open space with also could be kind of smoothie bar stuff, you know, or like just a bar or coffee bar or something like that, but with about skateboarding, with the warm atmosphere of it, with the magazine inside, with the like lamps which are like making the lights super beautiful. So I see so many of these things which want to be happen, and I just like very, very, very hope that it's gonna happen, and I will try to do my best in this way and to keep just doing what I'm doing, and that's it.
Okay. All right, this next one is from, we mentioned him earlier, Torsten Frank from Adidas, who made the documentary. So he said, what didn't you expect from the German skate community that you really liked?
Interesting question. I like many things. I think the preparation sometimes for skating, I saw in many of the skaters that they come to the spot with the vision how I sometimes have when you think about all of the concrete, all of the like roll in, roll away, all of the scratches, and if you have them, sometimes you can figure out and do something. And one of the things was impressed me so much was like also about the Hanoverian skateboarder Dan, which when he was going to the skate park in Zweier, he got this bike with, you know, where cargo bikes with a lot of space, and his preparation for the session was incredible for me in that moment, because he was also handled that in the bike, you know, but and with the all type of things for clean, make light, make all of the conditions good. So I find this one is very lovely, and I like how people sometimes build here. It's difficult, I know, but how German build and how they see the things, sometimes it's beautiful.
He also asked, what do you think is a good thing about the Ukraine skate community that people in Germany could learn from?
It's a hospitality, and no, it's just like I'm just telling not only about the learning, I just about the way of the mentality, you know. So and then the one of the main, it's like a hospitality and the cheering up on the spots.
Okay.
Because sometimes when tricks done, like 1,000 people will like scream like that, you know, and there will be, I don't know, like Kyiv in this way always had such a wild style sometimes. I remember Go Skateboarding days with like nearly 1,000 thousands of skaters like years ago. All of the streets downhill, cars are stopped and they don't go. Everybody filming from the people and from the cars. They go away and film these crazy dudes, and you are there as well. You know, you are part of this. And I don't know. I see it that. Like maybe like this thing about sometimes to cheering up, because it depends on the city where you at, and also depends who skates, you know, and it's I don't know. But Ukrainians are kind, hospitable, and sometimes a little bit loud, and can be a little bit wild in the good way, and like humor and like these things.
Perfect. All right, so I have just a few last questions. Let's do the first one.
Yurii, hey, what's up, man? How are you? Dominic here. So I have some questions for you, bro. Do you had any plans before you came to Germany, and what impact did the current situation had on these plans? So, what's your impression about Germany? Do you have an opinion about it? And what do you think about Hanover? Let me know any pros and contras.
So I think about Germany that it's like a super good infrastructured country with a lot of things which are made for a comfort with the nature and like with the history and own culture, you know. And I don't know. I like it. It's a big country and it's a lot of people, and you feel the vibe from Kyiv a bit different, because in Kyiv you could feel more space around you. Here you sometimes you feel that there are more people, but it's all right. And I feel for Hanover, for example, I feel good because I like this combination of the nature and of the city, and how it sometimes looks fresh and not dirty, you know. There are not a lot of trash. Also like Stuttgart, I loved Stuttgart for the downhills and beautiful views. Bavaria is also super beautiful and full of the nature and things, you know. Yeah, and I like Germany, I like Hanover. I traveled around Germany like enough, been to 2 seas, to many cities, different cities, on the car, on the trains, and I like Autobahn. Like, yeah, it's easy to transport yourself on Autobahn, you know.
Okay.
Sometimes, you know, some simple things when you're talking like that can amaze me, you know, because sometimes was something just complicated in your life. Just go to the Odessa on the bad road, which takes 6 hours, you know, and you need to figure out sometimes how to make it right.
Yeah.
So, and the architecture, also the thing which also amazes you. For example, in Europe there are so many these banks, you know, like everywhere is banks. In Hanover there are so nice banks, and in Ukraine, if you could find a bank, it would probably be something, you know, under the bridge where you jumping in, you know, only these kind of ways, but not architectural built things sometimes, you know. Yeah, and what was, if you got the first part of his question, what was the...
The first part was, did you have any plans before you came to Germany, and what impact did the current situation have on these plans? We talked about it a bit before, but...
Yeah, I got other plans, and my plans were tied with more like a little bit production and skateboarding in that moment, like before the war, and I wasn't planning to maybe even live so much years, you know, and then war just like changed many things and changed the mindset and teach me many things, you know, and also I figure out in the way of the people many things personally for myself, which was important, you know, and it's just like a horrible thing which also shows you some other things, you know, around you, and you start to appreciate life and you start to appreciate family and all of your people and just like planet and all.
Yeah. All right, let's do the 2 last ones. Let's see.
Hey, bro. Even if we talked like a couple of days ago, I just wanted to tell you again that I'm really proud of you for the Adidas video, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. And I wanted as well to tell you again and again that I'm proud of you too for what you're doing, for all the refugees, for the kids and for your mates there. Just like keep rocking, really, you true fighter. Anyway, as part of the podcast interview, I just want to ask you one question. which I never asked, is what is the worst skateboarding slam you ever had in your life? I know as skateboarder, like we had like shitloads of fucking good slams, but what is the worst ever for you? Was it in Germany? Was it in Kyiv? Wherever. Anyway, love you and see you really soon, I hope. Bye.
Lovely Tom, my friend from France.
Yes, Thomas Girondel.
Yeah.
He did an article about you, yeah.
Yeah, we met first in Kyiv. He's
okay.
an amazing human being as well, and
he's a photographer, I think, journalist.
Yeah,
photographer.
he was a war journalist in the Donetsk and Luhansk in 2014 when the war started in that region, and then we met accidentally in Kyiv in 2018, just skating or something.
Okay.
I had so many injuries actually, and my ankle was rolled like so many times. Every elbow was hitting so often. This one can hurt like a year sometimes, you know. Yeah, but I think the worst one was I was in the skate park, in this tiny indoor skate park, and sometimes these are just, you feel not spaces that you're jumping on something and you want to jump on something huge, but you're jumping on the small rail, you know.
Okay.
And this was the situation. And when I was jumping to the backside Smith, my second feet go to the nose and other was step away from the board. And my new board with the grip plate hit me up so badly on my both teeth.
Oh.
And the thing is that just for that moment, I mostly made all of the dentist appointments, and the dentist just a week ago said, oh, your teeth are so perfect. You know?
Damn.
And it was pretty disaster what was happening and how they fixed this problem. And I was wearing the thing 2 weeks, but I cannot say that it was the worst. It was stressy, it was shocky, but it was only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the worst was like when I couldn't skate 2 months. And it was like because of my knee injury. And actually, I think I got lucky and I didn't break anything. But I make intention so big that 2 months I couldn't really skate and I needed rehabilitation.
Oh, yeah.
And in that moment, I also got in touch with one Thai massage guy, old, like a 50 years old guy, which looks like a Viking, you know, with like a bald head and tattoos, beard, but the massage and his way to the rehabilitation and knowledge what in his head was incredible for me. And he just explained me how I need to fix the things sometimes, and I just started to do many of these movements as well, you know, and swim and to do special acrobatical movements and to do some special movements for rolling your body and your main thing which hold you, you know.
Oh yeah.
So you can be all the time super flexible and prepared for everything, and
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like I really can do parkour.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I never was trying that, only for fun, maybe once.
Yeah, parkour is pretty gnarly. It can be pretty gnarly, yeah.
Yeah, I saw many of people doing so crazy things.
All right, let's do the very last one.
Are you more a panda who likes to eat sugarcane, or are you actually more like a cat who needs to be cuddled? Would you rather hang out in Ikal Beach or Moroable? And thirdly, your last meal of your life, what would it be? Вареники or сырники?
So you recognize the voice, I assume?
Yeah, it's Angelina.
Yes.
Lovely. So I think the food will be definitely vareniki, and vareniki will be with cabbage and with blueberry, both types.
Is that a Ukrainian traditional meal?
Yeah,
I had never heard of it.
It's kind of special dumplings which made with cabbage inside and blueberry inside, and those are sweet dish, and that one just a dish, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they both goes with the sour cream, but on that one which is with blueberry, you can add a little bit, maybe some sugar on top, you know, or something on top, the vanilla on top or something like that.
Okay.
So it definitely will be vareniki. And there were a question, morohable or Ikal.
Ikal Beach, yeah, I think she said.
Ikal Beach. Ikal Beach I will choose, definitely. In this way, it's a very lovely place in Tulum, in Mexico. Incredible.
Oh, in Mexico, okay.
Lovely atmosphere there, and this tropical vibe and real vibe, you know. Sometimes I was traveling to some destinations, not like only Germany. For example, I've just been to France just like last year,
Yeah,
and
I saw that. Yeah.
But being in Saudi Arabia, for example, or being somewhere else, you know, and in Mexico, I felt something similar to Ukraine as well, in the way of the kind of how it's going, you know, how the life just going, and that's it.
Interesting, yeah. What's the other place she mentioned? It's so Ikal Beach. The other one is
Morojable. Morojable is the Fuerteventura, and it's a tiny town there in this like a not super big island in Canarian.
Oh, okay. Canary Islands. Okay.
Yeah, it's the island where is the like I think maybe 100,000 of people or 200,000 of people, and yeah, we've been there actually. First time I've been there, it was on the New Year last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, the first question, I wrote it down. She said, are you more a panda who likes to eat sugarcane or more like a cat who needs to be cuddled?
I think I'm a cat. I got a cat, and I very love my cat with whom I was living in my apartment. Yeah, and I like cats. You know, actually, she asked for the panda because I subscribe now on someone animal page, and there is every evening there is some stories about the panda and that everything is all right with this panda, and they just like eating, you know, something, and it's just like so lovely when you just in evening you just accidentally take the phone and there is a whole screen of the panda, so adorable that it excites you. It's like
okay. All right, well that's it. Yeah, thank you so much.
So as a conclusions, I would like actually to say thank you to all of great people on my way, to all of the people who were sending and bringing the humanitarian so we could help other people and deliver it in Europe, in Ukraine, to skate brands, to skate shops and distributions which also supported in this moment, and like for 24/7 distribution which bring 30 skateboards, and treasure team which reach out for our classes and our kids, so they supported everybody with completes and some clothes, for deluxe distribution which sent a lot of support to bring it to Ukraine and to support people who are in Europe and facing the troubles with not having the stuff for skating. So I would like to say thank you for Adidas, which also supported our kids with the shoes and bringing some peace in the wartime. So I see it very good when people build some communication and do some great projects together and trying to help to other people or to teach other people, and then we can just do and share what we can share, and many people will be happy because of it. And I wish that this war will finish as soon as possible, and that we can do some projects in Ukraine, and we can also, I personally want to be useful in this way, so I hope that we can cooperate and work and somehow find the solutions how we can handle something and literally do something in this situation. So thank you, Quentin, for having me and for doing your work with interviewing of everybody. Wish you good luck, and thank you again.
Peace to Ukraine, peace to whole world.
Yes, that's
Thank you very much.
That's it for my conversation with Yurii. Follow him on Instagram at Jurassic, JURASSICK. Go watch the short documentary Pushing Saves by Torsten Frank about Yuri's work at Gleis D Skatehalle in Hanover, as well as some of his recent filming missions. I'll put some links up on my Linktree page to some organizations recommended by Yurii to help Ukrainian people in need of assistance. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.